Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tree Advisory Commission, May 1st, 2025. It's 4 p.m. We'll call to order, and then we'll go around the room and have a roll call. Welcome to our guests, some of which will meet within the meeting today and are on our agenda to meet and discuss. So if we go around the room, Joe?
Joe Stadheim, New Ulm City Engineer.
Miriam Hoffman, Tree Commission.
Lee Knopf, Tree Commission.
Greg Dearson, Tree Commission.
Paul Eglund, Tree Commission.
Jordy Veit, Tree Commission.
Joey Schugel, Parks and Recreation Director, City of New Ulm.
Jeff Huffman, Public Works Superintendent.
Thank you for attending. Welcome. And our number 3 item, approve our agenda. Seeking a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Chair, before approving the agenda, could we look at adding an agenda item under new business? That came out after the packet.
Sure. We'll make it 6.3. And
And that would be for Ms. Grammels to present on a middle school program.
okay. We'll include Amber Gremmels then for 6.3. Chair and discuss some of her middle school work. Seeking a second on the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioners, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same. That motion carries. Then taking a look at the link for our meeting minutes from March 6th. Seek approval on those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the Tree Advisory Commission meeting minutes from March 6, 2025. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on those? I did see the date was listed as May 3rd, but today is May 1st of 2025, so we made it to the right meeting regardless. All in favor of approving minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That motion carries. So item number 5, our old business, city reimbursement programs and budget update. Joe?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commission members. Just a quick run through our budget for the year. In total, we've had 5 reimbursements for new tree plantings and 57 trees removed on the disease removal program. So our reimbursements for new plantings are totaling almost $500 at $496.35. The removals were at $4,624.53. And then our other expenditures include the printing for the utility bill inserts and also for the home show registration. So our unused amount, we have about $9,500 left for our planting reimbursement program. And we have that $95,000 approximate remaining for unused diseased tree removals. We have about $3,000 in carryover for our second and third trees that we will pay out after July 1. So if you add those numbers together, we're at about $8,000 worth of expenditures so far. So we have quite the budget available for reimbursement for diseased tree removals. So just encouraging people, if you are removing some diseased trees, to seek out that reimbursement from the city.
Any questions for Joe beyond that? Okay, thank you. 5.2, Park and Rec Department update. Joey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. a few things to highlight this month, and one thing Park and Rec was very excited about is getting over 30 new trees into the grounds and parks since our last meeting. Just happened in the last couple of weeks. Two of the big parks that benefited from new plantings were Washington Park. As I reported on, a lot of ash trees in that park that were removed and really changed the look of Washington Park. So a variety of trees went in. I think 13 total went in Washington Park, and then Nels Park was also again impacted by those large boulevard ash trees that were removed, and we continued to reforest that park as well. So that saw most of them, and then we supplemented in some other areas where we've had some removals as well. So happy to do that, continuing to evaluate our ash tree inventory in the parks and continue to make strides on full removal in the parks of ash trees. We're about a little over 50% now. So still a ways to go. In addition, last meeting I reported on, or maybe it might have been 2 meetings ago, on our Tree City USA application. And after our last meeting, we were awarded Tree City USA for 2024 again. That's our 21st year being awarded that. And putting that application together is really shows the amount of time and resources that the city of New Ulm puts in, and your time is part of that application as well, volunteer time that goes into that application. So happy for that, and again, committed to that. The Arbor Day program always is part of that application every year as well. So would like to thank you guys for serving on this commission and being part of that application process as well. And then if you saw the journal, maybe within the last month or so, we had a large tree fall on Johnson Park fence. And that was a linden tree, was not an ash tree. We actually had the 2 worst trees on that boulevard removed already. And since that tree came down, staff removed that and had the fence fixed already. But found out the rest of those trees are very rotted. So those will be coming down. And unfortunately, that will be a different look because those trees serve as important purpose at Johnson Park. So if you're playing first base, it protects the sun at a certain time of day. So that'll be different for the players on the field too. But safety issue for sure. So those will be coming down soon.
Okay.
Any questions on any of that? Thank you.
The terraces up by Herman Heights were successfully burned yesterday morning?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So New Ulm Fire Department helped us with Park and Rec with a controlled burn, and everything went very well. It burned very fast, no damage to the retaining walls. That is one of our measures that we're going to try in that area to control that landscape. Again, City Council committee picked on those native plantings in that area, and since they've been in, we have had a couple years of drought and so I don't think they fully had the opportunity to flourish. Last summer, if you were by there, they looked really nice. I mean, that's native plantings are supposed to look. Now that isn't always the look that everyone's desiring, so we're continue to evaluate this, but this is one of the measures to try to get that bad stuff out of there, some of the weeds and invasives that take over some of those native plantings. So we'll see what it looks like as we get into growing season in the next few weeks.
But the timing on that was well done, and
Yeah.
nobody who lived up there noticed other than that
Right.
the vegetation was gone or black. So,
Right.
and that is, maybe the best way for that location, especially.
Right.
So, any other questions, comments for Parks and Recs? Then we'll go to 5.3, the Public Works update. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. As of so far this year, since January 1 to now, we removed 51 stumps of ash trees that were taken out. And we're pretty well caught up. We got a couple more to go, and then we're caught up for the stumps for the permits that are taken out of now as of now that our trees are down, so we're getting caught up on that. We did remove 3 dead trees that were in the downtown area, or actually 2 were dead. One was hit by a vehicle and it had to be taken out because it was damaged so bad. So we removed those 3, and River Creek Nursery will be planting new plantings in there shortly. And then there were 8 trees downtown that got oversized for the grates that we had, so we took the grates out and put wood chips in those 8. And that'll be a new practice as a tree gets so big that they overgrow the grates. We'll put wood chips in and remove the grates. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you. I think I saw one of those out here in the parking lot,
Yep.
some red chips. Any further? Number 5.4 we'll pass over. Tony's not present today. 5.5 Emerald Ash Borer update. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commission members. I don't have much to share. I just checked the DNR's website for their forestry grant applications, and all it says it will open early in 2025. So with the current budget situation at the state government, I'm not real sure what we're going to have for a program this year, but if there is a program, we will certainly be applying again. So.
Okay, 5.6, the Big Tree Contest. We've received 2 submissions and we'll encourage, now that the weather is more amenable, to try to find those ginkgos in town. So deadline July 31st, and then later this late summer, early fall, whichever among us wants to go measure and judge the contest. They're nodding already. Maybe it'll be rainy that day, though.
Well, we can readjust the day.
We'll still go. That'll be all right. So 5.6 concludes our old business. Number 6 takes us to the new business, the 2026 budget request, and we've got a link to the TAC letter of 2025's budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So yes, in your packet is the letter that we included last year for the 2025 budget. Today, before you would be looking for a recommendation on a budget request for 2026. Keeping in mind, the City Council did authorize substantial additional funding in '25. If that funding is not used up, I would anticipate that would be a carryover to be able to be used in '26. And there would also be a potential for additional funding for ash removals in '26 if that's there as well. So, but with that, this has kind of been the practice for the last number of years for this commission. Primarily looking at the Disease Boulevard Tree Program, some contractual services, home show, and then some printing pamphlets and some pest reduction efforts as well.
What's the timeline on our next budget request? Would we put that forward?
So we would put that. We would be looking for a recommendation today. If we don't have a recommendation today, then we are right up against the budget, but we'd be able to approve it at our July meeting, assuming we have a meeting.
Yep, Mr. Chair, Commission members, our guidance haven't been set out yet from our finance office. We are beginning budget operations here this month, so.
It'd be wise to move on this today and request.
Yeah,
that
if you're
next
comfortable
budget.
to do so, I guess that would be our recommendation.
We did increase that number of disease and boulevard tree programs up to 10,000 from previous budget years. So I don't think we need to move that one much. And the printing and pamphlets has been the biggest hit to that budget so far this year. But we've also discussed not doing 2 in a year, reducing that to 1 a year. So, Commissioners, I look for any motions from you about the budget and items within.
wondering if we want to maybe increase the printing and pamphlet expenses request a little bit, just because those costs seem to go up every year. I don't know, we have it at 1,400. I wondered if we want to do 1,600 or 1,700, just to give us a cushion. And if we don't use it, then
Right.
we don't use it.
So valid question or recommendation. Commissioner Knopf, looking at the pricing from this year, we did have some competitive quotes on there, and since we did move to one printing cycle, I think even if pricing goes up, we'd still have some room. So as of right now, we don't have any additional printing or pamphlet costs for this year. So we're 25% under budget still. So even if we do see that increased cost, and if you recall from last meeting, there were two different options to save additional dollars. The commission chose the higher option to go color. So if we didn't go color in the future, that would be even more savings. Just wanted to add that information in.
Yeah, I guess I could go either way, but I think I'm fine with where this is if we're going to stick to just the one printing. So, considering where we were this year with costs, so.
Almost sounded like a motion, Jordy.
Sure. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 Tree Advisory Commission budget request as presented.
I'll second.
Do you want to keep that number within that request and keep it the same, 13,550? I think we've got enough cushion within the disease program and then our printing options that we can comfortably operate in 2026. So I'll seek a vote on the motion. All in favor of keeping the 2026 budget at 13,550, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That passes. And we'll have that budget request then to move forward to the city in its next rounds as it goes forward. Our next new business, 6.2, is the Walkabout Program. And I'm going to yield because I was absent March 6th, and I might not be fully informed on this. So I'm going to defer to you or Paul.
So, Mr. Chair, if I could start here, and commissioners, as you recall at the March meeting, an idea was presented of the Walkabout program. There was no defined parameters around that program included well, before I talk about what's included in the packet here, so nothing defined, but wanted to get the commissioners' input on what do you think about a program like this? And then from that feedback from the March meeting, it was then staff's job to bring back a concept of a program, still for the commissioners to decide on if they wanted to participate, what potentially change or update, and then talk about timelines from there. So included in this item was kind of some parameters on what the program would look like. And I know the League of Minnesota, League of Women Voters, yes, sorry, wanted to maybe talk a little more on this today and are very interested in this program too. Ultimately, commissioners, this is your choice on how you would like to see this go. And that's where we left from the March to today.
Okay. Would you like the mic?
I'm Deb Eglund, I'm Paul's wife. And the way this came up was that Paul and I go for a walk every day, and I get a whole lecture, the entire walk, about all these things that are wrong with this tree, or right with this tree, or what is this tree? all kinds of things. And I said, Paul, the tree commission should do this in the community because we don't have any trees. We live in an apartment. And so I thought it would be really nice and beneficial to neighborhoods to find out what kind of trees really grow well in this area, which ones don't because of climate or soil. And the idea of looking at your tree and is it healthy? Has it been pruned well? What do I need to prune? Is it too close to the house? All these various things that come up, you know. And so I talked to the League of Women Voters, and they said, oh, that sounds like fun. So we kind of paired up League people with you guys. And it's your choice. I thought the first 2 weeks of June would be nice, and hopefully it won't rain. We were looking at probably no more than 8 blocks. It could be a square. You can pick your own area. But we didn't want it too long. So 8 blocks, Paul thought might take about an hour. His might be a little longer. But we're trying to keep it, you know, concise. And the idea that people, if they really don't want to do the whole walk, it's outside, you know, unless you would take offense. I think it's fine if they just come and join you and then walk away if they want to. We also suggested that if kids were under 12, we'd really appreciate their parents or an adult being with them. We thought we would have you guys, I thought the first 2 weeks of June would be a good time. And so we need to have a date. And that's all up to you guys. Anytime that first 2 weeks, I figured didn't know any of you, so I didn't know if you were retired or not. So anytime during the day, any day of the week, it could be in the evening for people that work. But think about it as just being about an hour. Think of where you might want to walk, and if you're like Paul, you've walked that many times now and have figured out what you're going to talk about. But it's nice, you know, that's basically what we're doing and why we're doing it. We just thought it would be a nice thing, and you guys like trees, or you wouldn't probably be on the tree commission. So we thought you might enjoy sharing some of your knowledge and enthusiasm with people in the neighborhoods, and they would benefit from knowing what would grow well and what wouldn't, and how to water them. That's one of the things Paul's mentioned a number of times, is that I don't think people know that they have to water trees that the city plants. And so things like that would be nice to reemphasize to people, I think. So if you were thinking about this and have a date and a time tonight, that'd be great. Tell the person that contacted you. If not, we definitely need that by May 12th, so that we can get them into the paper and start advertising, be on the radio and that kind of thing. So, do you have any questions?
I guess would you want the walk to be in a newly planted area or a older, like German Street or?
Wherever you feel comfortable. Yeah, like I said, he's changed his a few times. Go ahead, Paul.
That you would walk where you normally walk or are familiar with. So you will walk in an area that you're, like I picked out from 4th Street to 1st Street between Jefferson and whatever it is. I don't know.
So a lot of older.
Where there's older trees and new
And
trees
that's what I
both.
thought. That's very interesting.
If you got older trees available, then you can say, see what happens when you don't do
Exactly,
things.
and that's what I'm thinking.
If you've got all new trees, then you don't have so much to talk about.
I even
That's-
thought the bike trail, was
Yeah.
is good
If you-
too.
If you would like to spend
But
some time back there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might have some bikers.
But you probably want to make it a circuit so that you'll come back on yourself.
So what was the route that you were thinking of? 4th? What was the route that you were thinking of?
I was going to suggest to myself that I'd go on from 4th and Jefferson. What's the next one over? Jefferson and Washington?
You talking north
Franklin.
or south?
East-west. Jefferson goes north-south.
Franklin,
And
Washington
and
State.
across, and on North
Okay.
North Street.
Okay.
And there's old trees there, and there's some new
Yes,
ones.
Yes.
And
And maybe there's some elms around yet.
there's one within viewing distance of that route. I can say there's an elm. It's not an American elm, I think, but
I just think there's too much interesting information on the older trees.
I found a tree that had cables and a joining rod. You just about don't see any of that kind of arbor work done on trees. But there is one on the little route I picked because it had that there. Plus, there's a tree that split out because it didn't have any protection, so. Those two items I like to have on my walk, just so I can complain about what you should and shouldn't do.
Eglund, I do have a question. And so does the League of Women Voters look at this as like a co-sponsored program with the Tree Advisory Commission? Is that
That's what I
kind
was
of the goal?
calling it.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay, yes. And so then, one of my questions is, you mentioned a little bit to do some advertising and some of that. So, so the league would help support that?
Yeah.
Okay,
I was
okay.
planning on
Great,
doing
great.
paper and all that
Oh,
stuff.
great.
Yeah,
yes.
Paper and radio. What? Oh, we also are going to come up with about a half a page that's a flyer that we're going to distribute to the houses along the walk, so that they'll get a personal invitation saying, we're going to be doing this, this is what's going to be, why there's going to be a bunch of people here. And so they'll know what's going on and feel invited to join us.
That's a very good idea.
Very good idea.
I think it'll be kind of fun, and somebody told me that people in New Ulm like to walk. I thought, well, this'll work. So, any other questions?
Sure. Does that have to be public streets and avenues? Could Nails Park and part of Flandreau would be, did you have that in
Thought of that.
this
That would
vision?
be a good idea.
How far off trail would you like to go?
Well, I was thinking we should, the only problem is that with that might be, I think I mistakenly sent it to the paper, so it might be in tomorrow. I got a little ahead of myself. But I mentioned that the walks would be on sidewalks, because I'm thinking handicapped people, and so the trails, it would be nice, but, that would limit who could go. And so it might be, I don't know. Oh, some of them are? Oh, okay, well, as long as they're paid. 'Cause
Nels Park is all accessible.
Oh, okay.
That would be a good idea.
Oh, okay. But that was something that I had thought about and wanted to emphasize, that you didn't have to be running around, You could be in a wheelchair or whatever and still be able to learn about the trees. So. Just, and like I said, it's, so I need a location, which would be like the northeast corner of these two streets, or the southeast corner. That's where we would meet, and that's where we would end
Right.
for each walk. And so the park, you'll have to, I don't know what you'd say, but anyway, it's whatever. So, yeah, we need that by the 12th, if not earlier, If you wouldn't, you can send it to Paul, you've got his phone number.
And the route, so we can route.
Yeah, the route, what the streets are.
Okay.
But, any other questions? If you have any, you ask Paul my phone number, and I'll be
Yeah.
happy to answer. Anything else?
So are we thinking about starting with one route, multiple routes, thinking about all of your time? And,
Well, he's, I didn't know how many of you actually knew lots and lots about trees, because Paul's he's got his route figured out, and he's
Okay.
when he's gonna do it. And I didn't know, and somebody mentioned that they didn't know enough, they didn't think to do it.
I don't claim to be an expert on all the
And
different
Paul
types of
said that he
trees,
would
so-
join her,
Yeah,
you know.
You gotta find a place you wanna walk, and then I'll go with it,
liking that Nels Park idea.
okay?
That would be nice.
You know, if that's up to you guys and the knowledge that you have. And Paul will, I'm sure, be willing to help you, if you need it, either ahead of time or maybe the day, and just all different days, different times, so that could be worked out.
Do you have a maximum distance in mind for such
I
a
was-
walk?
I
Like
was
8
thinking not
blocks or?
much- that 8 blocks was a
Half mile?
little less than a mile. If somebody hears a mile, they might think, oh, I can't walk that far.
It's like, what is it? There's 12 blocks in a mile in this town.
Roughly, yeah.
In this
So
town.
it's, what is that?
3/4.
3/4 of a mile, okay.
And
Up
Well,
to
it
down
can- it
10th
can be
Street?
less, yeah.
Those trees are gone, so we won't do that one.
Time-wise, a lot will depend on how many things you find. And if you find a whole lot of things to talk about in a much smaller area, that's fine too. But I was thinking no more than about 8 blocks and about an hour, because that's about all people really want to usually do, unless they get really excited about it. And then they can come to any of them, or all of them if they want to, because they see different trees, depending on where they were, so. Anything we've forgotten? I forgot.
Joey, do you have any places that you specifically would like them to go?
You know, if we're talking the distance, the question for, if you're watching at home, is any specific place that potentially would like them to go. Nels Park, you know, if we're talking about 3/4 of a mile, that's roughly what that trail is, the paved area. So that would be a really good start. And you know, I think this could be a program that would stick around then annually. You know, I think, you know, if you pick a couple locations this year and then try again at a different location next year.
Well, and something else that occurred to me not too long ago is that this is a nice time of year, but because we didn't want it to be too hot or too cold. But it would be nice to do one in the late fall, I thought, because then you could see the branching when the leaves
Right.
came off. Because the leaves will all be out in June. And so some of these things that Paul brings up has to do with the way they branch.
Right.
And so it might be nice to do something in the spring and fall.
I'm just gonna get my 2 cents in, and you can tell the people, listening. You know, sitting here, not everybody knows about the tree reimbursement programs. Not everybody knows that why the trees are coming out of downtown or that.
That would, yes, thank you.
If you would, please.
Yeah, Ruth Ann Webster here. You know, not one of the things that you can talk about besides, oh gosh, this maple tree is way too close. You can talk about, well, you know, you might see that all these ash trees have disappeared. Well, that's emerald ash. Remember emerald ash? And the city council is going to be asked to have money to help replace them. You know, those sorts of things that you might think, well, everybody knows that. Well, no, they don't. It's another thing that you can talk about on a walk like this.
And that's a great comment, commissioners, because I think one of the things that this commission is always looking to do is to educate, you know, about all things. And we have a really great program right now for reimbursement that has been, that's out there and available to the community. So great comment.
And that still is one of the most frequent conversations at the home show is, as the ash borer has moved through town, it's striking people at different years, and sometimes they are really just becoming aware
Right.
when it hits their tree. So those are all
That's
valid
That's
ideas.
a serious jolt to your budget if you've got 4 or 5 ash trees on your lot, because it's a corner lot. There are a number of such lots that I've encountered in my walks, and
That's
Yep. They're probably not excited to even plant a tree right now when they get them removed.
So commissioners,
Encourage them to plant a tree. It doesn't cost so much. Start with a little one.
I think there's, first off, you would have to make a motion to accept the program and, as communicated. And then I think from there, I think some of the details around getting the word out and getting it to the League of Women Voters could, I'd be happy to funnel that through me from the commissioners if that's the easiest route, however we want. And so I could work then, you guys get me your route and days that work, and then I can get it, or however we want that to go.
Well, we kind of set it up so that various members here are connected with, I think, you guys. And so that works, you know.
Sure.
Because we thought that we would walk, there would be a league person with each walk, just to help them keep control of
Right.
these masses, you know.
Right.
That'll kind
And-
of show up. But yeah.
And so, yes, so then I don't need to be in the middle of that, but on the Park and Rec side, I'd be happy to help promote as well. So in our avenues, whether it's the press release or on social media and things like that, you know, so people, you know, maybe a greater reach also know about the program and could join.
Okay.
And recognize the League of Women Voters for being part of this as well. Yes.
Sounds good. Well, thank you. Anything else? Are we good?
Did you need a motion to,
I'll let you move.
I move that we, as a commission, conduct these walks as the members wish to participate, and after the first year, we'll see if we want to do it again.
Yep. Second?
Second?
Miriam, second. Any other discussion? You tried to put a 1-year clause in there, but if we don't put a timeline on there, it'll be fine either way.
Okay.
And we might, I would guess that we might discover that sometimes autumn might be the better, or even right now, apples and cherry trees are starting to really blossom, and that's enjoyable as well. They're easier to find and identify that way. So I'll call the motion. All in favor of approving the coordination of walkabout program, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, same sign. Seeing none, we will coordinate with League of Women Voters to carry this out in some fashion in June or of this year. I think that was the dates that you had in mind. And then work to try to bring our community members closer to home.
Yeah, we'll let you know in July meeting how it went. You'll know, won't you?
Will your tour be done by July?
Yes, it should be. Unless it rains every day, you know.
Getting a sense that some of your walks are longer than they're supposed to be. So, thank you for attending. Appreciate your interest and spearheading this. 6.3, we kept you waiting. If you want to come up and introduce and share with us, as they were discussing, I thought, I wonder if that might be a tour, maybe not this year, but in the future.
Oh yeah, had lots of ideas there. Thank you for adding me so late. Amber Gremmels, I am the STEM teacher, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, which I can really spin anything to be STEM. Kind of a gift and a curse. So this trimester, we run on trimesters at our school, I decided to teach an agricultural STEM course. And I've planned for next year to have it more of it's just called local STEM, but part of it is natural resources. From what I've seen, I helped get a official school forest through the DNR started about 6 years ago when I was just a science teacher. And once kids are out there once, they just ask, can we go again? So we have almost 5 acres of the hillside that's next to the middle school. We have a forester that recommended, with all the ash trees in there, that we do a planting. So I usually dress a lot nicer than this, but I'm dressed like this because we have put in about 300 of the 450 trees that were given to us by the DNR, but seedlings, so very small. So I had 5th through 8th graders out there doing the best they could to plant them properly, and we took some time to look at the different states of the ash trees because we have everything in there. Like, go ahead, you can go up and you can rip that bark off and you're going to see just how rotten it looks inside. So our biggest issue that we have in there, our forester, because of all the wildfires that have been happening during the summer, they haven't been able to get a crew in there to remove the trees. There are some pretty dangerous limbs and entire trees that have been cracked off. So that's one of my concerns. And if anybody has any advice on what we could do about that within, a few months, that would be great. These kids, any sort of service learning projects that they could get involved with, they love it. I don't know why they like digging holes so much, but they get a chance to move. I tell them I could sit as much as you guys have to sit during the day, so any chance they get up to move around is great. They can see their progress. We have done, I think we've removed almost all the buckthorn that's big enough to be identified. We've gotten it out of there. I was able to get some funds, and we did it during the fall, and you can still see there's some remnants out there. I'm like, go ahead, you can go over there and you can kick that down. That used to be buckthorn. And they like to raise the trees over their heads and stuff like that. We've had John Knisely come out and teach us a bit about grafting fruit trees. They are very interested in growing food. So I'm hoping to get some more fruit trees on our campus. The main thing kids want to know when they're out there is, what is this tree and what can I get from it? some like fruit trees make sense, but there's lots of other products that you can get from trees too. What else did I want to say? That's kind of just a rundown of where we're at for now. So I just wanted to share and see if you had any ideas. I'm not asking for anything specific, but I'm a kind of a department of one, so having to plan and carry out everything myself it's a big task. So use the group's knowledge would be great. Okay.
So, tree commissioners, are you all of you aware of the area that Miss Grammels, am I saying that correctly?
Grammels,
Grammels, area that she's talking about, right across from the track and ball fields on the hillside there.
It's a very uneven property line too, which is another issue of all of a sudden you're in someone's backyard.
Right.
I'm like, well, we're planting trees, is that okay?
Right.
But
Right. So I think one of the things is looking for, if there's any recommendations on how to continue what you're doing there in, maybe more efficiently or make
Yes.
more opportunities. Were you also looking for additional space or ideas to get the students involved? Or is that not?
Yes, they will travel. If
Okay.
we can walk there or bus there, they are very happy to.
So off-site is
Yeah.
is an option?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could get some surveying knowledge and application just to locate your boundary line on your piece. Apparently,
Yeah, I have.
you should see if that would be something that you could actually do. Go out and set markers on the lot line.
Doesn't that cost money?
Well, you're talking about doing it with student work. You consult the records and
Yeah.
find the approximate boundary line. You wouldn't set an official survey stake as such.
I do have that. So
You got that.
do you have a recommendation on what we should use to mark it? Because stakes, they'll pull them out.
I know,
Someone will pull them out.
I know. But, okay.
Joy?
As we talk about other areas, if it's off-site, our pollinator park is always an area that is meant to be educational. And now I know it takes some extra time out of, you have a really convenient location now, but if there's ever an opportunity, we have some great knowledgeable volunteers who would love the opportunity to bring students down there. And we could have some real hands-on experience with removing some nasty stuff and also putting some really good stuff in the ground too. And have the opportunity to do that in different seasons too. So even in the winter is a nice time to do some of those removals if we get decent weather to do some of that. And I know our department could help support some of that work too, if that's ever of interest.
It is.
Yes.
It's of high interest. We love it. Great.
There
And
might be
I-
a few park opportunities like that are pretty accessible and that students see in the off-school season where
Right.
they're in and around
Right.
quite a bit. That might be local to them
Right.
in their neighborhood.
There's also some private property that I believe a League of Women Voters member is looking for some assistance on, is working with the DNR for a bird watching area, but looking for some, that could potentially be a really interesting property and to do some real meaningful work in that would be looking for and maybe could become maybe like an educational classroom.
I got a classroom set of binoculars, good ones too.
Yes, yes. But then that almost it doesn't have a blank slate now, but it could have a blank slate for,
Yeah, they are so happy when they're in the woods. It's like, I don't know how many pictures of kids with worms I've had to take. I'm like, oh, yep, you got it.
Yes.
Then I'm like, it's an invasive species, but okay.
Any other comments from the commissioners on ideas?
Is there I don't think there is. Is there a footpath or do you have
But we're working on it.
a trail within or adjacent to it? There's no
Partially.
sidewalk on that side,
Nope.
correct?
So there's I believe it's the remnants of an old homestead. I'm not really sure. If anybody knows, some of the stuff kids have found really old bottles and old bricks and things like that. So yeah, that would be great. They always ask me the history, and I don't know. We have a pretty defined path just up to kind of a brick wall that we use as an informal classroom. Yeah, but after that, I've been a little too nervous to keep going, just in case I end up on somebody's property. And it gets pretty wet, squishy in there. Yeah, please just and think about it or email me. So whenever anything comes to your mind. Like I said, I'm a department of one, and I can only do so much.
Well, one of the things I would try to connect you with is, if you're willing to stay, is to watch Jordy's update for us. If you don't know about his buckthorn plots, that's an interesting one that might be a coordination in the future too. So, any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work. To number 7, covered up program. Jordy, are you gonna give us some info? And then can we get it onto that screen or our guest screens?
Yes. Andre, are you able to get the graph on the agenda on the screen?
I can, while he's doing that, is what this is this is the data from the plots that were down by the bike trail that were watched and surveyed for several years as part of the Covered Up project. So again, just as a reminder for those who may not know, this was actually ran through the University of Minnesota, and it was a statewide project. It's had several phases. So I was just one of about 100 plots throughout the state that was looking at removing the buckthorn and then using native grasses to help slow and prevent buckthorn from coming back into the area. And so there was a large plot that was divided up into the 6 plots again, and 3 of those plots were seeded with this native grass seed. Was more than just grass, but the grasses definitely did better than anything else. So was this native seed mix that they came out with from the U of M through some preliminary research. 3 of the plots got that treatment. The other 3 were left unseeded. And this is presenting kind of the overall results. The commission anyway has seen bits and pieces of this, but this is kind of a graphic representation of it. So the top graph that is up there right now, one of the things that we measured was the number of buckthorn seedlings in those plots. And these graphs go from 2020, which is when the project started, and then through 2023, which was when we switched how we were doing the data. But this is a good representation of it. The seeded versus non-seeded, we got results that the seeded with the native seededs actually reduced the number of buckthorn seedlings. And I put error bars on there, which is what the other bars are seeing. You are seeing for 95% confidence interval, which is one way we can look at this. But with only having the small area here in town, the error bars aren't a great representation. But every single year, you can see from here, there was fewer seedlings of buckthorn that were growing within those plots that had the native seed. And if you want to go down to the next one, we also looked at growth. One of the things that we did was measuring the height of the tallest seedlings. And again, through all the plots, the height of the buckthorn seedlings was reduced. And all the plots that were seeded with the native seed mix with those. And again, just like an observation was the plots in here, the native grasses did better, which we already talked about at the last meeting, that they already had kind of come to that. And then the last one is another one that looked at growth. So this is looking at the tallest seedlings. So we looked at the leaves and then also the tallest seedlings. And again, across the board, the plots that were seeded with those native seed mixes had reduced growth in our buckthorn. So overall, there was an effect. Again, this is just one site. That's the trend that they're seeing across all the sites. They're still processing data, so there'll probably be more coming out over the next several years with this. But that was kind of the conclusion just at the local level. So, questions or?
Did you use any prescribed burning on any of these plots?
No.
Not
Nope.
yet, not
This
yet.
was not
Okay.
prescribed burning. Nope.
Just
That-
their own plants, all
Yep,
right.
this was just the plants. That is part of their kind of bigger scheme they have going on with using the manage it. So the prescribed burns, the native seedlings, the grasses seem to do quite well, which makes sense. Depending on the environment makes sense, because the grasses will tend to grow faster, which will help to shade out some of that buckthorn from being able to come back in there. So, but yeah, they did talk about in some of the other research on their other sites that burning can be probably one of the mechanisms, one of the tools, one of the many tools. So, yep, good.
And this site was in the south end of town.
Yep,
We'll
just
describe
along
that.
the bike trail. If you enter the bike trail on 7th South heading towards Ridgeway, it was in the wooded area there, kind of between Ridgeway and the bike trail, if that makes sense. So, yep. So, good.
We continue to see if the buckthorn gets out, you need to put something in, or something's going to grow there.
Yeah, and that was also a discussion in our meetings, because we had meetings throughout this too, that as soon as we started taking buckthorn out, something else wanted to come in. So hopefully this will also help with that as well. So,
So that might be something too that would maybe be on for the League of Women Voters combined walk. That might be something to visibly see or notice. That's something that I tend to see a lot, is buckthorn that's on hedges or in hedges where somebody doesn't know that it is. And
Yeah.
it's definitely
Yep.
present. And if it's a seed-bearing female, then
yeah.
that's where to tackle the problem most of the
Yeah.
time. Any other questions for Jordy? Otherwise, Commissioners, we're looking at number 8, and the date of the next meeting listed is July 3rd, 2025 at 4 p.m. here. If you've got extra agenda items, please email them a week prior. Hearing and seeing no other business, we are adjourned.